All right, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. Today's Wednesday, October 22nd of 2025. We were in camera earlier at 5 o'clock, so we're continuing on the agenda. Move on with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge we're meeting on the traditional lands of Wausoba First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Could we all rise for the singing of O Canada? All right, moving on. Approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve as circulated. Moved by Councillor Muse, seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 6, declarations conflict of interest. If there's any item that comes up on the agenda, please notify me, and I'll make sure that your name is recorded in the meeting minutes, and then I ask you to step away from the table during the discussion of that item. Item number 7, approval of the minutes. You all have in front of you the meeting minutes from September 22nd, October the 9th.
Oh?
They're
Yep,
not linked?
we're going to table them, Mr. Chair. Yep, they're not linked to the agenda.
All right, can I have a motion to table those until the next regular council meeting? Moved by Councillor Phil Mooney, seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham to table those minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 8, old business, housing and municipal investment strategy presentation by CBCL. And we have with us some people that are going to be online. I'm going to turn on the microphone so Mike can, you can hear this online. And Jenny's getting them fired up on the computer screen. Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
All right, that's great. I'm going to turn the microphone on here. Mike is going to turn it on so the people that are online along with you can hear what you're saying. And as soon as we have that, I don't see the microphone lit up red yet. Yeah, it is. All right, so I guess the way we'll start this is first introduce yourself, and then you can go right into the presentation.
Sure. My name is Emma McCaffrey. I'm an urban planner here at CBCL in Halifax, and I'm joined by my colleague Emmanuel Nicolescu.
Everyone, thank you for having us. I lead our transportation planning and engineering group at CBCL, and we are both based in Halifax. Good evening.
And I'll just pull up the presentation here. Okay. Can you all see this okay?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here today. As I said, my name is Emma McCachran, and I'm an urban planner at CBCL, and I led the development of this housing and municipal investment strategy. So with that, we're pleased to present the housing and municipal investment strategy for the municipality of the District of Yarmouth. This strategy is a culmination of extensive research, data analysis, and engagement with municipal stakeholders. The purpose of this strategy is to provide a clear, actionable roadmap for sustainable growth, infrastructure investment, and development over the next 25 years. So looking at historical population, over the last 2 decades, the municipality moved from population decline to stabilization in a short period of rapid growth. From 2001 to 2014, the population fell and then stabilized with modest gains from 2015 to 2019. In 2022, year-over-year growth peaked at 3.45%, driven largely by migration, before easing back towards pre-pandemic patterns in 2024. So you'll see the population pyramids on the screen here, and the overall shape of population pyramids communicate age dynamics. So a wide base tapering upwards signals a young, growing population, and a narrow base with a heavier top signals an aging, lower birth rates, and potential future natural decrease. The age profile in the municipality has shifted upwards. From 2001 to 2021, we see a transition into a top-heavy pyramid with a narrow base. Bulges seen in the 2001 age cohorts have continued to move upward over time, increasing the share of the senior population. The 2021 pyramid on the right shows a smaller share of children and more residents ages 65 to 79. The combination of historic youth outmigration, low birth rates, and recent in-migration helps to explain the patterns seen here. So after reviewing the 2022 Municipal Housing Needs Report that was done for the municipality, we found that the population projections completed there generally assumed linear growth without correcting for aging and low fertility demographics. So to account for this, we modeled 4 scenarios using cohort and forward survival methods with migration rates calibrated to local and provincial data. Each scenario applies consistent fertility and mortality assumptions and varies migration based on observed trends. So scenario 1 uses age and sex-specific net migration rates derived from Yarmouth County for 2006 to 2021, estimated by linear regression so that rates evolve annually by age cohort and capture both positive and negative movements. Scenario 2 applies a constant annual net migration rate of negative 0.06%. This was based on the county average from 2011 to 2021. Scenario 3 applies a constant 0.3% rate based on the county average observed from 2011 to 2024. And to test a high immigration case, Scenario 4 applies a constant 2.79% migration rate based on the provincial average seen between 2021 and 2024. And I will just note that we use the county averages as these metrics were not available at the census subdivision level, which represents the municipality. So all 4 scenarios show a consistent trend, population growth peaking in 2026, followed by a steady decline through to 2051. This indicates that migration alone is unlikely to offset natural decrease from aging and low birth rates. All in all, these results indicate a need for strategies that actively address attracting and retaining residents across all age groups. Emmanuel, did you have something to add there?
we reemphasize that what's seen here in this profile is to some extent natural drop and reduction in the population, some driven by migration, but a large chunk by aging. We have the hump in the middle offset through migration, but longer term, as shown through the pyramids, that older cohort at the very top of the pyramid is moving on. So we can expect a contraction in the population. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you. So next we looked at the composition of the existing housing stock. And as of 2021, the housing stock of 4,430 occupied dwellings grew 27% since 2006, with a continued 4% growth seen between 2016 and 2021. This growth was largely in single detached homes, which contributed 76% of net additions since 2006. And alternative housing types, including low-rise apartments, row houses, and semi-detached, showed only modest growth in this period. The housing stock is dominated by single detached dwellings, which represent 92%. Dwellings with 3 or more bedrooms are predominant, with almost 70% falling into this category. 87% of dwellings were owner-occupied, while 13% were renter-occupied. The majority of this rental supply is found in the multi-unit housing, with single detached homes only contributing about 8% to the total rental supply. So next we look at household size and types of households. So as of 2021, 2-person households were the most common. 1-person households have grown the fastest, at 13% growth between 2016 and 2021, and now representing 28% of total households. 3-person households declined 12% in that same period. The share of families with children in 2021 declined 4% over 2016, and non-census family households, which includes 1-person households and multi-person households where occupants are not related, saw the largest increase at 12%, reflecting broader community or broader demographic changes across the municipality. Small homes are becoming more common, but the current stock composition is heavily weighted towards 3 and 4 bedroom homes, creating potential mismatch scenarios for seniors and single-person households who are seeking more affordable 1 and 2 bedroom options. So to assess future housing demand, we translated the population forecasts into household demand using age-specific headship rates. So under scenario 1, which it peaks at about 4,685 households in 2031. Scenarios 2 and 3 both peak in 2026 at about 4,647, 4,663 households. And lastly, in scenario 4, it had the highest peak at 4,771 households, again in 2026. After this peak, all scenarios declined steadily as it progressed towards 2051. So these reductions ranged from 567 households in scenario 1 to 637 in scenario 4. Over the full 2021 to 2051 period, all scenarios resulted in a net household losses equal to 7 to 9% reduction. From 2031 to 2051, this average annual decline of approximately 0.65% across all scenarios. We then compared projected household demand to the 2021 occupied dwelling base. So that's at 4,430 occupied dwellings seen in 2021. The near-term scenarios show a deficit in 2026 between 216 and 341 dwelling units. However, this deficit diminishes over time when all scenarios transition to a surplus by 2046. And by 2051, the surplus ranges from between 296 to 404 dwelling units. Manuel?
One thing to note is that this forecast is built on really the current patterns, so it does not reflect what may be in the future by the time we meet that 2046, for example, changes in behavior or transfers of existing homes, generational transfers, or an influx of property, let's say, on the market that may in the future attract more people and make up that surplus. Emma?
Projected households were then allocated by family type and household size trends using historical shares, and then translated into bedroom requirements based on the national occupancy standards. Across the 25-year forecast horizon, 1 or 2 bedroom units represented 72% of total need, while larger units with 3 or more bedrooms represented 28%. And just like Emmanuel said, it is important to note that changing demographics can affect both the distribution of bedroom types and the difference between supply and demand for housing units. An increase in one-person households resulting from factors such as aging populations or delayed household formation due to affordability concerns is likely to raise the demand for one-bedroom units. But on the flip side, a rise in multi-generational living arrangements or larger household sizes would lead to greater demand for 3-4 bedroom units. Overall, the analysis of bedroom distribution shows a general misalignment between the current housing stock and projected future demand. We also conducted high-level evaluations to assess municipal infrastructure and service capacity. So with this, we look at water, wastewater, solid waste, transportation, street lighting, and recreation. So starting with water, LD rely on private wells for their water supply, while the remaining 8% of homes are serviced by the town of Yarmouth's water system. Overall, the review found that Yarmouth's water system demonstrates sufficient capacity to meet current and projected water demands while maintaining compliance with provincial environmental standards. The wastewater evaluation looked at the Yarmouth Wastewater Treatment Plant, the Port Maitland Sewage Treatment Plant, and the South Ohio Wastewater Management District. From a hydraulic and organic perspective, the Yarmouth facility could accommodate a population increase of approximately 1,435 additional people. The town is in the early stages of designing secondary upgrades, but they have allowed for a conservative 1% population growth to the 2050 design horizon, which results in a future service population of just about 10,500, so an increase of about 2,600. From a hydraulic perspective, the Port Maitland facility could accommodate a population increase of approximately 170. It is suggested that operations staff consider implementing an influence sampling program to confirm current organic loading to the treatment facility, where hydraulic and organic loading data will help confirm available capacity. Based on the 2022 conditions assessment of the South Ohio Wastewater Management District, it was found that the overall performance was satisfactory and near-term failure unlikely. However, in planning for future replacement when the time comes, potential for residential expansion in South Ohio and the surrounding area should be considered to ensure that the selected replacement option provides sufficient capacity to accommodate the needs. Looking at solid waste, overall it was found that there are no apparent capacity concerns at key facilities at the Yarmouth County Solid Waste Park. However, it should be noted that population growth in other areas in the region that are serviced by this facility can have a resulting impact on the capacity. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Looking at transportation, a review of transportation found that access to public transportation options is limited, and the active transportation network has gaps. Improving mobility options is essential as the community grows, particularly for seniors and younger residents, to ensure access to services and support overall community well-being. Based on the street lighting review, it is recommended that the municipality adopt a lighting program that scales with development and density. Priority should be given to areas with sidewalks or where pedestrian activity is expected to increase, and at key intersections and decision points along major routes. And lastly, recreation. Based on our population forecast, current recreation infrastructure capacity aligns with the anticipated community demand, and at this time, no significant additions to existing parks and rec facilities are recommended. We also completed a GIS land suitability analysis to determine land suitability for housing development based on environmental servicing and planning criteria. A weighting scheme was developed to reflect the relative importance of each criterion. The weighting overlay analysis then combined all criteria layers to produce a composite suitability score. Areas scoring the highest represent locations most suitable for residential development, balancing development feasibility and environmental constraints. The results of this analysis offer preliminary guidance to inform planning decisions. However, detailed development planning will require additional field verification to confirm site conditions. So you can see here on the map, the areas in purple were excluded from the study due to incompatible land uses or existing policy or legislation that prohibits development. The red are deemed to be unsuitable, not recommended for residential development. Yellow represents moderately suitable. These areas are considered to be feasible, but with significant constraints requiring careful consideration. And lastly, the areas in green were most suitable and preferred for near-term development. And you can see that they're mostly concentrated along the Lake George Road corridor here, where the existing water infrastructure is, and in the hamlet zoning areas there as well. So, as I briefly touched on, the most suitable parcels of land were concentrated in the Dayton and Hebron areas, along the Lake George corridor, along the, I believe it's Highway 3 corridor down here in around the Arcadia treatment plant, and that was it, I believe. So lastly, the strategy outlines 7 strategic policy recommendations to address key challenges facing the municipality. Each of these recommendations includes implementation actions designed to enhance infrastructure capacity, attract investment, retain population, and diversify the local economy. These policies are designed to support sustainable community development and ensure fiscal responsibility. So running through these from top to bottom. Number 1, establish an intergovernmental coalition to secure funding for critical infrastructure projects that exceed municipal capacity. This is intended to address the need for substantial infrastructure upgrades that municipalities cannot finance independently. Projects aimed at modernizing and leveraging local assets, such as the airport and the Port of Yarmouth, are key to unlocking new economic opportunities, improve regional connectivity, and attract investment. Enhancements to these important transportation assets will help position the municipality as a hub for commerce and innovation and support growth across multiple sectors. So moving on to number 2, attract private sector investment through targeted incentives and process improvements. This is intended to address limited developer interest and streamline regulatory processes to increase the housing stock and expand residential and commercial tax bases. On to number 3, implement a comprehensive strategy to retain local youth and attract young families and immigrants. This aims to address youth out-migration and the shrinking working age population by rebalancing demographic composition and securing long-term community vitality. The strategy leverages the use of the newly released CMHC Housing Design Catalog to streamline planning processes and improve financial viability for accessory dwelling units and new multi-unit residential buildings. Moving on, enable seniors to age in place by expanding transportation options, accessible housing alternatives, and community support services. This is intended to address the gap for the aging demographic and aligns with strategic objectives of creating inclusive and livable communities in the municipality. Next, diversifying the economy beyond fisheries. Implement economic diversification initiatives to reduce dependence on the fishing industry and strengthen the foundation for housing, employment, and population growth. This aims to address overdependence on a single sector and to broaden the economic base to attract and retain workers, improve incomes, and generate increased revenue for service delivery. Adopt a population strategy that assumes stability or modest growth and aligns services and fiscal plans accordingly. This acknowledges that the municipality is unlikely to experience rapid population growth in the near term and focuses on quality of life and fiscal sustainability rather than accelerated growth. And lastly, implement a proactive framework to build community trust and enhance engagement on major development proposals and projects. This strategy aims to foster transparency, address concerns early, and communicate public benefit of major projects. The objective here is to facilitate constructive dialogue that enables projects to proceed with greater public understanding and acceptance. So with that, I thank you all for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss any aspects of this strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Is there any questions of council or comments? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yeah, more comments certainly, and we know that the demographic information is a challenge for us in terms of the kind of inverted pyramid. We've got a lot of folks that are in those age intervals that are a little bit higher, so we've got some challenges there. I mean, I think that we made a lot of we're talking about a lot of things as 3 councils. We're talking about the airport, we're talking about the port. Those are all things that we're going to have to address with other levels of government in order to grow the economy and make sure jobs are here. And also, it's really important through the Planning Advisory Committee that when projects come to Yarmouth, that we're proactive in trying to attract the investment, because obviously there's lots of, everybody knows over the generations there's been lots of young people leave not only Yarmouth but southwest Nova Scotia for greener pastures employment-wise. So we've got some challenges, but I think we've got the folks here to meet the opportunity. So I think we really do need to spend a lot of time looking at these recommendations to move forward so that we have prosperous communities moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you for your presentation. Your recommendations seem quite relevant and are very interesting. The demographics and the population, I don't know, I'm not too sure about that. Like demographics here in the municipality, what I see from my experience in touch and base with individuals, what drives a lot of the demographics in our area are the cost of housing here versus the cost of housing in Ontario and out west. I believe where our houses are considerably cheaper, a lot of retirees are migrating out in our direction. So I don't think the demographics are going to change significantly, but the population, I'm not sure about the numbers that in 25 years, if we do nothing, that our population will decrease to 93 to 9,600 people, dropping 600, 700, 800 people. But that being said, if nobody has a crystal ball, you can't tell what's going to happen in 2051. The one other interesting point that I saw in here was the infrastructure and services and the fact that water, that 92% of the residents in the municipality are either on dug or drilled wells versus the 8% that receive water from the town of Yarmouth. So I didn't know that number was quite as high as it was, so thank you for that. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Councillor Phil Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Emma, when you're talking about the corridor in Lake George, South Ohio, and Dayton, do you have a breakdown of the property owners? Is there any of that's municipal land that's already, that we own, or is that mostly in private hands going through those areas?
Are you speaking in regards to the land suitability analysis when I mentioned it here?
Yes.
I'm not sure of the ownership of property along the entire corridor. I know that there are quite a few residential properties, but I'm not sure about all of them there.
So just following up to what Councillor Baxter said, you are basically mirroring or following the lines from the Yarmouth Water Utility right to the town line.
Yeah. I mean, no, do you have something there?
Just a quick note on the ownership there, councillors, that this mapping can quite readily be overlaid with the ownership structure and just identify which properties within primarily that green suitability band, which of those properties are municipally owned, or even other public ownership for that matter.
Okay, good, thank you.
Is there any more questions of council? Any of staff?
I'll make a motion.
Well,
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
I need your microphone on. Let me turn it on. Councilor
Yeah.
Mooney.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we receive the October 2025 Municipality of Yarmouth Housing and Municipal Investment Strategy as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Trevor Perry. Discussion on that? Deputy Warden.
Just a quick question before we vote on the motion, through you to the CEO. We've got this, what are the next steps with the report in hand, Madam CEO?
Great question. So there's some pretty significant data in the report and information in the report that council really needs to take a hard look at. There's a strategic plan that is approved by council that is growth-oriented in a lot of ways. My recommendation would be that council take this body of work and take a hard look at the strategic plan and consider maybe pivoting in a couple of areas. It's clear if we don't focus on economy and population that we could run into trouble, because as the baby boomers pass away, no matter where they live in Canada, as they pass away, they're not going to be here and they're not going to be available to come here. And with birth rates staying low, there's nothing to prop up the population. So either jobs are going to drive population or birth rate is going to drive population. Either way, we need population to have a community. So I think it's clear we need to take a hard look at things.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
If I could, Mr. Chair, just before we let Emma and Emmanuel go. So CBCL has been working with the municipality and staff for about a year on this project. And the early stages were fairly grueling, trying to get our hands on data and reports and information. So I do want to thank the team at CBCL for their tenacity and sticking with us and seeing the project through to the end. It was a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Likewise, indeed. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you very much, council.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, moving on. We're going to have a couple more people online. Caroline and I think Derek, are they on? I see Caroline. All right,
Derek was here. He was trying to find somewhere with Wi-Fi because he was traveling back from a work meeting.
all right. So we do have Caroline with us. So there is a recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, Derek's here. All right, so moving on, we have
Just ask them to mute themselves because we're getting
Yep.
feedback from you.
Derek and Caroline, could you please mute, hit your mute buttons because we're getting some feedback from your computers on our, and I'm sure everyone online is hearing it as well. So if there's any questions, I'm sure they'll be directed through me to you, so. We have a recommendation here from the Planning Advisory Committee, and it's in regards to first reading the municipal planning strategy amendment, provincial minimal planning requirements for wind turbines. So, Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, you have the floor.
Yes, as Chair of the PAC, I have of course, it came from Committee of the Whole, but I'll move that council approve first reading of amendments to the municipal planning strategies presented in the Wind Energy Public Participation Report Final, June 23rd, 2025, in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, and further update the development agreement criteria for large-scale wind turbine development to align with the new provincial regulation, which would include the new maximum minimum distance, remove aesthetic and visual impact considerations, and incorporate the provincial standard for maximum shadow flicker, and further that the required public hearing be scheduled accordingly.
Okay, a motion on the floor, I have a seconder, second by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Discussion on that.
I'll
Go
just
ahead,
say that the big piece is that there were changes in provincial legislation. PAC took upon themselves through those changes to make the alterations in our planning documents and so forth. So while the alterations haven't been made yet, they're subject to the process. But that's why it's here at our table tonight.
Okay, any discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And I do have a question for the CEO. As far as process, this is the first reading. So what happens next?
So public hearing is required. I think it's a 14 clear day notice period. So we'll hold the public hearing where we'll receive written and verbal submissions from the public on the proposed amendments, and then council will take those into consideration and proceed to second reading.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on. Item 9.2, recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. 9.2.1, elected municipal official code of conduct investigator. Councillor Phil Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth elected officials be chosen to work with the CAO on selecting of code of conduct investigator, and underneath we have the,
So that's just one motion.
that's one motion, yeah.
Yeah.
There may be some background from the CAO, what this entails when it comes to the investigator and what the Department of Municipal Affairs has asked us to do.
Go ahead.
Do you want a seconder first, Mr.?
Yeah, I do need a seconder. I have someone hollering in my head. Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. I apologize for that. So there is a motion on the floor, active on the floor, and there was a question asked of the CEO.
So under the Municipal Government Act and regulations attached to the Municipal Government Act, all councils in Nova Scotia are required to adopt a code of conduct that aligns with the regulations that are required by the province. A piece in that code is that if an elected official on this council makes a code complaint about another elected official on this council, that an independent third-party investigator be used to first determine if the complaint merits an investigation, and secondly, if it does require an investigation, conduct the investigation and make recommendations pursuant to the requirements of the code to council in terms of taking action. So the municipality had published on its website the municipal solicitor as the investigator until the pre-qualified list of investigators was published and made available. So that list is now available, and council has been advised by the Department of Municipal Affairs that the municipal solicitor would have significant challenges maintaining conflict of interest requirements because of the work they do with council. So it needs to be somebody other than the municipal solicitor who is chosen to be your investigator of record. So that's the next step, is for 2 elected officials from council to work with me, take a look at the pre-qualified list and make a recommendation to council on who would be the investigator.
And
Councillor Moon.
through you to for the CAO, through to Victoria, do you know how many's on that list?
I think there are 14 options,
Okay. So you have a little homework to do then.
just a little. If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Madam CEO.
In terms of parliamentary process, I know that there were 2 motions that were recommended by committee of the whole, but they could be amalgamated into one motion by amending Councillor Mooney's motion to say that those 2 elected officials would be the warden and deputy warden.
So can certainly do that, so it'd just be a motion to amend. So someone willing to make that motion? Moved by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Daniel Muse. I almost said the A word. He knows what I'm talking about, Alan. So there is an amendment to the main motion in that regards to recommend myself and the deputy warden to work with the CEO and recommendation of the code of conduct investigator. So is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Back to the main motion. Any more discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.2.2, dry hydrant request. You all have that recommendation? What is council's wishes?
I move that we commit to installing a hydrant as requested by the Port Maitland Volunteer Fire Department, fund it through the 2026-2027 operating budget, and have staff concurrently review and provide supporting documentation for its installation agreement.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Discussion on that? Councillor, you still have the floor.
I didn't realize I had it still on, but this is, the purpose of this is to install a dry hydrant in the corner right smack in the middle of Port Maitland. There's a well there that has no use right now. It has a cover with a locked padlock on it. And the fire department is asking that we make that more accessible so that they can fill their trucks when they need to, so that they don't have to run to Darlings Lake to fill their trucks. So that's what the purpose of this action and motion is for. Thank you.
Okay, but the motion, you're talking about access to that, but it's, the way the motion reads, and I'll publicly state that I was the only one that voted against this motion on the floor. The motion reads to commit to installing a hydrant. So what you just mentioned there, Councillor Baxter, was in regards to making access to it. So I'm still unclear on what exactly the motion means. And also, as in the committee of the whole, when I also stated this, it's been typical that the departments had installed their own hydrants and maintained them. What I'm afraid of setting is setting a precedent in that regard. I am a member of a volunteer fire department in our municipality, and this is something that our department has, we have 2 of our own dry hydrants, and what we found is we're having trouble with the water levels lately, that's a couple of, one of them at least, the one in Forest Glen, is not working. So what we've done is we've decided to buy a piece of equipment which is called a turbo draft hydrant, and that's going to be portable. That's not the solution for everyone in the municipality, but it's something that our own department came up with. And typically, the municipality district of Yarmouth not only gives fire departments operating and capital funding on top of the area rates that each department has total autonomy over. So that's the reason why I had voted against the original motion that's on the floor. And I'm going to be, once again, voting, but I'm going to go back to my main question, is what you had mentioned was they just wanted access, but the way the motion reads is we're committing to installing a hydrant. So can I have a little bit of clarification on that?
Clarification on what I said. They have access now. They want easier access. They don't want to have to crawl around on their bellies and try to get into a well in the middle of the night when somebody's house is burning down. They want a hydrant that they can access and hook up to quickly. And this was a request by the fire department.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Vote is 6-1, motion is carried. Please record my name. Thank you very much, council. Moving on to item 9.2.3, draft amendments to the check signing policy C-026-00. What is council's pleasure? Councilor Phil Mooney.
I'll make a motion that the proposed amendments to the check signing policy C-026-00 be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder, seconded by Councilor Lauren Cushion. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.2.4, electronic signatures policy E-464-25. I'll have that recommendation. What is council's pleasure? Councilor Phil Mooney.
Make a motion that the electronic signature policy E-464-25 be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Daniel Muse.
And maybe just a quick, for the audience today and for the people online, just a quick overview from the CAO on this.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. So there are instances where signatures are being affixed to documents through things like Adobe electronic signature. Last year, when we did the tax rebate, we had a very large batch of checks to do, so rather than signing manually, we had to have a mechanism in place to kind of address some of those logistical pieces. And absent a policy, there's really no permission for the municipality to provide signatures on documents other than manually doing it. And so this is just an advancement. It helps smoothen operations in cases where there's not risk. in using an electronic signature, so I will point out that electronic signatures are not allowed to be used on contracts, lease documents, insurance policies, audited statements, loan agreements, debenture documents, third-party guarantees, and any banking instructions or transfers.
Councillor Mooney.
And I already know the question before you answer it. Every one of those checks for the reimbursement was looked at and checked off, right? Off of Master Street. Yeah.
Absolutely, yep.
Good.
Absolutely. If I would have signed them, I would have probably done more writing in my entire career in high school, so.
You used to doing lines.
Yeah, I've used,
Mr. Cox, for a teacher, did lines a few times.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but he would, he would recommend me that in drafting, that's for sure. But when it comes to making squiggly lines, he only wanted straight lines. Those squiggly lines, it's a lot more. I knew that was coming for some reason. All right, is that the end of the discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing no more, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.2.5, request for decision, the Cape Pursuit caretaker salary scale. Councillor Mooney.
Make a motion that the municipality adopt the salary scale for the Cape Pursuit caretaker as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder. Second by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Discussion on that. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.2.6, the Water Supply Upgrade Lending Program Administration Fee. I don't know who was up first. Councillor Jim Baxter.
I make a motion that the administration fee of $300 for the water supply upgrade lending program be waived retroactively to April 1st, 2025 until March 31st, 2026.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Phil Mooney. Discussion on that. Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I had the opportunity yesterday when I came in to pick up my package to sit in with Ashley and Mark yesterday for some of the people coming in and getting their water vouchers. It was a very interesting hour or two that I spent in there. And I know Emily, Madam CAO, has spent a lot of time on this file, and she's fielded a lot of questions about the program, either from the lending program to some of the other things that we involve with the piping, the pump, inside piping, the cistern program. But I think some of those people that called up originally, because I believe this $300 fee up front. So I wonder, I know it's going to entail a lot of work, but get Mr. Brewer to put that on our website again. And if there's some people that Emily probably has a really good sense of that was interested in the program, but the $300 fee was an obstacle for those guys, or those people, or those households, maybe reach out to those people and tell them that we've amended this policy and that $300 fee has been waived until March the 31st, 2026, and probably we'll look at it again at that time.
100%, we're on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much. Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. I believe this is an excellent initiative. Just the numbers from the presentation that we just had says that 92% of our population are on wells. And this year, you can really tell that we need to be doing something about it, and I think it's an excellent start, and I think we need to continue talking about it. Thank you.
Councillor Daniel Muse.
Mr. Chair, through you to Madam CEO, maybe we could just let the general public know here what the lion's share of that $300 is used for.
Yep, so in order to borrow from the municipality, a loan agreement has to be signed. under provincial legislation, that loan agreement can be applied as a first lien on the property to ensure that the money is collected from the property owner. The main reason for that is that typically municipalities are not lenders. And the money comes from the tax levy to help neighbors address on-site water security. So some security has to be taken until that loan is repaid. So the loan is a lien on the property and it's recorded. So that $300 is primarily for legal fees to record the lien on the property.
No, you,
Thank you, and $300, that's probably, would take all of that, I would say, pretty much just for lawyer fees.
Probably not enough, but.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
yeah, I'm glad to see this. Some of you, actually, a couple people have mentioned they heard me on the CBC talk about this when I had an interview. I think it was October the 9th that I was talking to them. I did an interview on CBC in regards to our well lending program. And they had asked at the time, is council going to be considering it? So we did talk about this 2 weeks ago, and I'm glad to see that it's finally going, if this motion currently passes, it's on the floor, it's going to be in effect. But before I call the question, I'm going to ask this question to the CEO. So this administration fee is in our policy, one of our policies?
So the bylaw that creates the power for the program makes a reference to an administration fee and says that the administration fee will be the amount as set out in council's fees policy. So you go over to the fees policy and there's all different kinds of fees that the municipality charges for different services, and in there it says well supply lending program admin fee, and it's currently set at $300. So by way of resolution, you're waiving that fee, not amending the policy. But I think I heard Councillor Mooney or Councillor Baxter suggest that come March 31st, there may be an appetite on council to just take a look at that.
Yeah, and that's what I was, just wanted to make the point, because I did know the answer to the question before I asked it. But just to keep in everyone's mind that if we want to go back and remove this from that, that's where we have to go, and we'll see what happens at a later date on that. So enough on that. Is there any more discussion on the current motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.3, December meeting date. Councillor Muse.
I make a motion that the December 2025 Committee of the Whole and regular council meeting be combined as a council meeting on Thursday, December the 11th, 2025 at 5 p.m.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Phil Mooney. Discussion on that motion on the floor? Anyone that's watching on TV, this is something that council's done as long as I've been on council over the past 17 years, and the whole reasoning for that was to allow my colleagues to attend community events, and also our last regular council meeting date would typically be really close to Christmas, and there is a lot going on during that month, so this is typically.
December 24th this year, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, it is December 24th. That number was on my mind, but I thought it was maybe the 23rd, but yeah. If our regular council meeting was held on December 24th, I don't think we get much done, so this is something that we typically do. So is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.4, the Western Regional Enterprise Network Agreement. Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your package this evening, Council, is a follow-on agreement for the Western Regional Enterprise Network. That's the regional economic development agency that the municipality's been investing in now for over 10 years. So that corporation is stood up by way of an intermunicipal agreement. There are some key changes in the agreement that were recommended either by the board or the liaison and oversight committee, or both, and I do want to draw your attention to them. A significant change is around the year-end financial review. So the investors have been paying for a full audit on the financial activities of the Western Wren since its inception. The Western Wren is not allowed to own any real property or borrow money. Because of that and the lack of risk around that, it's been recommended that we move to a review engagement as opposed to an audit. That will save time and money. And so that's been recommended by the CAOs in the changes to the agreement. Section 5E, in the 2020 agreement, there was an inflation escalator added to the municipal investment that was made in the Western Wren. And it just referenced Nova Scotia CPI. There was no cap on it. So the CAOs are recommending that we add the cap at 3.25% per year. Section 6, in the previous agreement, there was a language in there that would technically require the Western Wren to put economic development officers physically in each one of the municipalities. That hasn't been the practice, and that's not required. What is required is that the Western Wren and its staff are supported through in-kind space to hold meetings and conduct their work. And so that continues to be in the agreement. Section 10 is around the recruitment and nominating committee. So this is to populate the board. So the model for the Western Wren, just for the public, the Western Regional Enterprise Network is publicly funded. Some of the money from the province, most of the money from the municipal partners, which are the District of Barrington, the District of Argyll, the District of Yarmouth, the Town of Yarmouth, the District of Clare, the Town of Digby, and the District of Digby. Those are the partners. The governance for that is led by the private sector. So the board of directors who set the strategic direction and give the CEO instructions are private sector participants, not elected officials. That board is populated through nominations. And so the amendment in the agreement is to give the board 2 seats on the recruitment and nominating committee as opposed to just being advisors. They would have voting seats. So that's an important change. Our board members are well networked. They know people who would make good board members in addition to the networks that the elected officials have. So the CAOs did support that recommendation, and it's in the proposed agreement. And I think, and then there's just a continuity in section 11B around the review engagement. So this modernizes the agreement. It certainly brings the agreement into line with the practices, and it supports recommendations by your leadership at the Western Wren at the LNO level and the board level.
So what is council's wishes? There's a recommendation there. Councillor Phil Mooney. No? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yeah, given that we had the CBCL, report earlier on in the evening, I think we've really got to, access the Wren's capabilities and make sure that, we're liaison with them in order to get some of the recommendations across the line that are in the CBCL report. So I'll just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, is someone willing to make a motion in that was there a mover and seconder? Did I ask for that?
Did Trevor move that? I didn't. No. Oh, you didn't move it, okay.
Okay, I didn't. Councillor
I'll
Mooney.
make a motion that we accept the 2025 to 30 Western Regional Enterprise Network intermunicipal agreement as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Lorne Cushion. Discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.5, recommendations from the Recreation Advisory Committee, community use agreements of indoor spaces. You'll have that recommendation in there. What is your wishes, Council? Councillor Daniel Muse.
I recommend to the make a motion to recommend to the Town of Yarmouth Council and the District of Yarmouth Council that the representatives from both councils and the Yarmouth Recreation request a meeting with Tri-County Regional Center for Education to discuss standardizing community use of schools agreements across the TCRCE.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder. Seconded by
Mr. Chair? just
No,
before-
no,
I wanted to declare conflict just before it's seconded.
okay, so Deputy Warden has declared a conflict of interest. Please notify that. Seconded by Councillor Phil Mooney. Any discussion on that? Yes, Madam CEO?
So this is a great recommendation from the Yarmouth Recreation Advisory Committee to the councils. One of the key assets in the community to provide access to recreation opportunities are our school assets. Maximize their use. They're spread out across the municipality, so there's generally more geographic access. So one of the main barriers to leveraging all the opportunity at those schools is getting standardized agreements so that the staff at Yarmouth Recreation has basically the same rules of engagement at each of the schools when they're trying to do program delivery. So this is a fantastic recommendation.
I totally agree, Madam CEO, and it's kind of funny that this was brought up today because just last Thursday, I had a meeting because I'm the chair of the Student Advisory Committee of the Carleton School. And this was brought up about that there was no uniform agreement between all the schools because we had a principal that moved there from another place, another school last year that's also in the Tri-County Regional School Board envelope, and they said, well, it's kind of funny because what we did in Carleton was different than the principal was before. So he said it would be kind of nice if it was actually made uniform across all the schools. So I totally agree with this motion on the floor. Should have been done years ago because there's always been a struggle with what schools are available, and sometimes it was because of janitorial staff or staffing issues and anything like that. So making it uniform, so one school's the same as the other, certainly would help, especially with Yarmouth Recreation, where we partner with them to hold community things going on with recreation and stuff, because a lot of those programs are very well attended, at least out in my area. And I'm glad to see this recommendation come forward. Councillor Muse, I'm sorry, your microphone is still on. I don't know if you wanted to speak. Okay. Any more discussion on this motion on the floor? I do have one point of clarification before I call for the question. It says here in the motion that the town of Yarmouth Council and the district of Yarmouth Council, that representatives from both councils and Yarmouth Recreation, did I read that right?
Yep.
Okay.
So that would likely reference the Director of Recreation.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a little bit of clarification on that. Okay, no more questions on the motion on the floor? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously. Deputy Warden, we are done speaking about that. You return to the table. Item number 10, correspondence. We have no correspondence for action. Correspondence for information. We have here a letter from Minister John Lohr to municipalities. Municipal Modernization Act, the 2025 Act amendments, and it's kind of funny because Minister Lohr is no longer the Minister of, it's our minister, now it's, who is it? John A. McDonald, yes.
The other one,
The other John A. McDonald, who was a former councillor,
the
so
younger one.
that was just announced a day or so ago, so that would be the last letter we will be getting for Minister for Municipal Affairs. We also have another one from PVSC, Canada Post Disruption. News release, amendments to clarify the code of conduct for elected officials, and the EPR contract with Circular Materials Atlantic. Any discussion on, or comments about any of those? If not, I'd entertain a motion that these information has been accepted and placed on file. Oh. Moved by Councillor Mooney, seconded by...
I wanted to have discussion on one of them.
No, we can. We can before, we can. Do I have a seconder on the motion on the floor? Yeah. Councillor Daniel Muse. Councillor Jim Baxter?
I think we need to have some discussion on the news release, the amendments to clarify code of conduct for elected officials. Personally, when I read that change, I misinterpreted it. I believe I misinterpreted it. I read the bullet, complaints may be made by a council member related to the conduct of another elected official in the same municipality, as being, we can't put in complaints to another municipality, but seems more and more the notes that I'm hearing that's more about the public not being able to put complaints in. I say that with a question mark.
Madam CEO?
Clarification has been sought from the department and not received.
So does that mean that we don't know what that bullet means?
It reads right now, only elected officials from your own council may now file a complaint.
Then I would like to move that we send a
No,
letter.
there's already a motion on the floor.
Gotta wait, yeah.
We gotta wait on
Okay,
that.
sorry, jumping the gun, but that to me, still discussing it, that goes against everything I believe in the year that I've been on council. I have documents here from my orientation that says our core values are integrity, honesty, objectivity, accountability, and leadership. It says the citizens of the municipality of Yarmouth expect the highest standards of professional conduct with members elected to local government, that members of council are expected to be professional, respectful, and courteous to the public, fellow council members, employees, and external partners at all times. To me, that goes against that, not holding us accountable. Even in our training for code of conduct, it's like guiding principles, point 3.318, accountability is one of the guiding principles, being accountable to each other and the public for decisions taken. That goes totally contrary to that. That's my feeling. I'm done discussing. Thank you.
Councillor Mooney?
And what Councillor Baxter just spoke about is, you hear that right across the province, Mr. Chair, and we are going to have a Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities meeting in less than 2 weeks now, the 4th of December, and that question will be discussed at that meeting. And not only the sentiments that you spoke about for this area, that's going to be spoken about right across the province. So to send a letter back, that won't get back there by the time that we're going to have the discussion with, how many municipalities we got now? 49? 50?
49.
49, with all 49 municipalities will be around the table at the same time, discussing exactly what you just talked about. So we could send a letter, but that will be talked about by the time that letter gets to the board of the NSFM or FNSM, because that's going to be discussed before that ever happens.
So maybe we could deal with a motion on the floor, and then we could speak to Councillor Baxter's concerns.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was wondering if I was going to make a comment, because I also have a few concerns over some of the things that's happened since I've been a councillor, and one of them would involve me. So if we're going to discuss that afterwards, I'm not going to have any more input on that at this time. So is there any more discussion on the current motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Madam CEO?
So in terms of just adding to what Councillor Mooney was saying, the work of the NSFM is going to send a clear message to the province for sure. What we can do is monitor what happens the week of the NSFM. The legislature has risen, but that doesn't mean regulations can't be changed. You don't need the legislature to sit to amend regulations. So I think that there's a path forward to having government respond to what municipally elected officials are sharing with them. If things don't move, then absolutely, we should come back to this if it's on council's mind and readdress it.
Councillor Mooney.
Plus the person that's the president of the FNSM right now will not be the president of the FNSM at the end of the week, right? So you're going to have a different set of ears or a different speaking person. Not that that's good or bad, but there's going to be a different leadership at the helm. And when we discussed this, and Councillor Cushing was there, and spoke about it, and Councillor Cunningham spoke about it, and Councillor Mew spoke about it, and yourself when we had the orientation on the code of conduct. There are some serious gaps in that document. And I think one of the things that was pointed out, not only with our municipality, there was Argyle in the town of Yarmouth, there were some questions there with the other two municipalities in this region, and they've heard the same thing right across the province, that there's serious gaps in this piece of legislation, in this code of conduct. To say it's a working document, we haven't got it working yet, so we don't know if it's a working document, but I think there's going to be some eye-openers, especially if they have the ministers' roundtable and the premier there at this conference. There's going to be a lot better speaking people or well-spoken people besides myself at that conference that will pound this problem home. And I'm with you, Councillor Baxter, on that. And it's the document's sorely lacking right now. And I think.
Too late.
No, and we talked about it earlier, is there was some segregation of duties, like the premier had to get a second job, that's how bad the economy is right now. And Minister Lohr lost the Department of Municipal Affairs.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is they need somebody focused on this. Instead of, he had 4 or 5 ministries, instead of doing that, let the new minister focus on this. And the new minister is a former municipal councillor, which is going to make a lot of difference.
Councillor Baxter, then myself.
I am sensitive to this one, and what makes me especially sensitive is the way the letter was written in the news release, based on feedback received from municipalities, because I don't remember being asked that question.
I can speak to that if it's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you can.
So, I can't speak for the province, obviously, but from where I sit and what I see is going on, one of the main concerns with the code of conduct, the way it was rolled out, was the lack of fiscal control. So there was no governor on the cost to municipalities for investigations. And I do think that the province has heard from a number of municipalities saying, we have to do something about cost containment. The District of Yarmouth is lucky. We don't have any code files open, but there are a number of municipalities across the province that have several. And the rates for these investigators start at $275 an hour and go up to $500 an hour. And, you know, those costs are being incurred as soon as a letter goes across the lawyer's desk, because the first thing the lawyer has to do is determine if it requires an investigation, and you pay for that. So I think that that's partly what the province is hearing, and that's why you're seeing some things around a particular event is only one complaint, as opposed to if there are 5 parts of the code that might have been violated, 5 separate complaints aggregated into one. So I can't speak for the province, but I can tell you that the province has been hearing significant concerns, primarily around vexatious complaints and fiscal control.
Yeah, that's true. I remember reading a newspaper report, there was regards to, I think the number was 6 municipalities had concerns about public comments or public complaints about councillors. I'm going to let everyone in a little bit of secret. A deputy warden would know this. Back in 2009, during my first year being elected as councillor, there was a concern brought up from a resident regarding myself and my conduct in public and what I said and did. From my understanding, the way the regulations read, you can't have any member of public hold us accountable. I think that's wrong. What I did back then was wrong, and I admit that, and we moved on. But the way that this is now, who's not to say that I may go down the street, or any elected official in the future go down the street across the province and do something? If they verbally abuse a member of public, that's not right. And there at least should be investigations on like that. However, if there's vexatious and what I would call nuisance complaints because someone doesn't like somebody just to cause the municipality's money, well, yeah. But there's got to be a balance there. But taking away the people's right, in my opinion, complaining about something that I may do in the future or have already done, that someone, they should have the right to complain. They really should, and in a formal way to do that. So we'll be discussing this at the NSFM. Myself is going, I know the Deputy Warden, Councillor Mooney, you're going up for a day or so, but you're heading off for surgery. Who else is going up here? Councillor Muse, Councillor Cushion, and Councillor Perry. I don't know what it is. There's two Trevors, and there used to be two Daniels, and I get those names mixed up. But, yeah, I'm sure this will be brought up, and make sure when they have these sessions, sit in and make your voice known, because that's your forum in front of all your regular municipal colleagues, but also the province and the provincial government and the new Minister for Municipal Affairs. So that's my thoughts. Deputy Warden?
Right, I mean, it's an important issue, and it's a relatively, there's pluses and minuses to everything you do, right? And the plus is public certainly have input, the minus is sometimes it costs money and so forth, and so anyway, I'm looking forward to that, a fuller conversation at the NSFM, because we're going to hear a lot, and from people that have actually had the experience with it. You know, we haven't had one of those public complaints under the current set of, or not the current set of rules, the set of rules that we're under with the, you know, for the last 6 or 8 months or however long it's been in force. The most important thing in my mind, in any democratic system is the electorate. It's less about us and less about individuals and more about that whole electorate. So I'm happy and pleased to see people here tonight and people watching online, because they're watching what we're doing most importantly at the council table, because that's really where the rubber hits the road in the motions we make. That's all really, we do lots of other things, but that's really the most important thing, because that's how we spend the money and how we question the CAO, the information she brings to us, the information staff brings to us. So, you know, folks, every 4 years, folks have that opportunity. I think this is an important piece, certainly the code of conduct, but the bigger and more important piece is that electoral piece every 4 years. And I'm not saying that the code of conduct, because that's very, very important. I'm looking forward to the conversation and proving that. But the big piece is making sure that people get out there and elect the right folks to be around the table to move the municipality forward. I mean, you see tonight we had a CL report around some of those strategic pieces that, you know, we need to get done. We need to be focused on growing the economy and making sure tax rates stay reasonable, and you know, those are the important things, making sure the community survives. These other pieces are important too, and I'll be glad to hear those conversations at the NSFM. Thank you.
So I did hear, Councillor Baxter, you mentioned you might make a motion, but you certainly can. I can't stop you, but I would almost wait until we see what happens up at the NSFM. It used to be called the UNSFM. That's why Councillor Mooney is having trouble. It's said it 3 different ways, but now it's called the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. It used to be the Union of Nova Scotia Municipalities. Just a name change in there. Councillor Baxter?
Through the warden to Councillor Mooney, I appreciate the fact that you will be bringing it to the NSFM for a more thorough discussion, because I didn't put my name on that. Thank you.
No, and typically what happens, Councillor, since this will be, is it their first NSFM that happened when we were elected, or the second one?
Second.
Typically, we come back with anything that's important, and I'm certainly going to be attending that session, and what I'll do is in my warden's report at our next regular council meeting, if something comes up on that, I'll certainly bring it up during that. I'll do a little bit more written report rather than a verbal ones, because lately my reports have been just more off the hip, shooting from the hip, but the next one I'll certainly make, where this seems to be a concern of our council and our residents that we see online. I'll make sure that I do a little bit more thorough report and put it all down in writing. Councillor Mooney?
And I think our CEO is going to be the new president of AMANS this year. So that's the Association of Municipal Administrators, and I'm currently on the provincial board of the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities, and we have the meeting on Tuesday, Councillor Baxter, which will be quite lengthy. And Victoria will be making a presentation during that day on something else, but I can't imagine this will be the biggest topic of conversation, especially leading into the conference.
All right. I already made a motion to move forward in regards to, what's the word I'm looking for? Information was placed on file, accepted and placed on file. There we go. I'll eventually get that remembered. All right, item number 11, CAO's report. You all have that in your package. Deputy Warden?
Well, we can't talk about economic development enough, I don't think, obviously with what we've heard tonight. And diversification of the economy is very, very important. We all know that. And just thank you, Madam CEO, for putting together your CAO's report. And of note over the last month and looking ahead, the Nova West Regional Business Park Phase 2, substantially complete, waiting for a power utility installation. So the business park, Nova West Business Park Phase 2 is complete largely, and I guess there's a second lift of paving going on next year. And you know, when it does open up, folks, you know, take a drive up there and kind of look at it. It's pretty impressive. So that's a lot more lots, and it puts it about, you know, an opportunity for folks to locate businesses right here in the municipal district of Yarmouth. Drives growth and drives you know, employment in the area. Has water and sewer, which most businesses are looking for, and it's kind of shovel ready from the developer's perspective. So that's what happens in the city. You can't say come to a business park and somebody drives in and they see a bunch of trees and bushes and oh, by the way, it's two years for us to get a road in there and get the lots going, and we've got to get approvals from, you know, Yarmouth for the water utility and all. I mean, those are, it went smoothly, but it does take time. So those lots are all ready to go and develop, and of course we've got some folks lining up already. So that's the good news. So again, that I guess we're a little bit ahead in some ways of where the CBCL report is directing us. But I mean, we all know pretty much what we've got to do in the municipality over the next 8 or 10. And these are long-term projects, certainly, to make sure our young people can stay in the community. Because obviously we've got a deficit of young people staying in the community. So when we talk about development and jobs coming to the area, and we talk about things like resource development, I mean, we may have some controversial issues come up, but you know, at the end of the day, and all done environmental responsibility, but I think we really do need to be careful as a council to accept, you know, opportunities for employment, because it's you know, we're obviously, with what we've heard tonight, we're kind of in a tight spot for job creation, and our demographics aren't great, right? I mean, look around the table, we've all got gray hair here, including me, right? Or none, yeah. So,
Dan might be a little short.
so anyway, that should tell us all something. So I won't go on and on and on, although I'd like to. Okay. I'm doing a good job. The red light's on. Okay, thank you so much.
I think you feel good. I think
I didn't know this was a competition, but apparently it is. Councillor Muse?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the CAO's report as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Warden's report. Well, I'm going to use the word of the day, willy-nilly. I'm going to be all over the place here. It's kind of funny, some of the discussions that we have just around the our table here, and what the deputy warden brought up in regards to the CBCL report and stuff about our things to do and diversifying our economy and things like that. And that's a nice segue into what's happened here over the past little bit in regards to Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourism Association. We had 2 new cruise ships come into our port. Something that YAST has been working very hard with to try to improve and get our names out there in the cruise ship industry to bring a bunch of these ships here. And I'm happy to report that the cruise line Bonnet, for the first time, they brought 2 ships, La Boreal and I don't know how to pronounce the last one, La Lirel? Yeah, the Pondant. Councillor Phil Mooney, somehow you went out there and aboarded one of those ships.
When you talked about shooting from the hip, my hip let me on the boat somehow.
This is hip led him on the boat somehow, and it was kind of interesting because Neil McKenzie, the CEO of Yasta, had called me. He says, "Do you mind? I know this is short notice, but we have the cruise ships entering the port, and I know you're not around. Do you mind if we take one of the councillors there?" I said, "Sure, Councillor Mooney, whoever's around." And I said, "It's kind of funny you're talking to me about that because I was currently just on a cruise ship that cruised out of Bayonne, New Jersey. It was supposed to head to the Bahamas, but there's 2 hurricanes down there, and I ended up in Halifax." And when Neil called me, I just got off the ship and I was in the port of Halifax on another cruise ship. So that just goes to show you some things that can happen and the amount of people. I don't know the exact number of cruise passengers on that ship, but I was on one of the second largest cruise ship in the world. But just to get our piece of that pie, a lot of the people on the cruise ship remarked on how beautiful our province was and actually how warm the weather was in Halifax that time. It was kind of ironic that it was warm there, but it wasn't exactly what a lot of the cruise passengers had expected, but they were very pleasantly surprised by the Nova Scotia's hospitality, and it's something that YASTA is currently working on to expand our piece of that pie. We also brought up conversations about possibly having a little bit better place to tender boats to accept some larger cruise ships than we currently get, because this one here had to dock off port and they had to tender back and forth, and somehow Councillor Mooney got up and down in the ship with his bad hip. Volunteer Week is coming up, or has been going on since October 19th to 25th. Tomorrow, Yarmouth County Business Awards. I believe most of my colleagues are going to be attending that. That's an event that I look forward to every year. It's being held at the Mariner Center. And as we all know, small business accounts for most of the business across Canada, over 90%. So to acknowledge our business leaders and up-and-coming stars and People's Choice, I'm looking forward to that. Volunteer Awards. I attended that along with many of my colleagues. As we all know, Carrie Monroe Muse, the wife of Councillor Daniel Muse, was won the Municipal Volunteers Award, and we all gave thanks to all the volunteers that were nominated at Mariner Center. What else? I guess some upcoming events. Carlton Trunk and Treat happens every year. It's going to be happening at the Carlton Triangle Road, the 31st. That's going to be held from 5 to 6. It's something that I always look forward to, and I dressed up last year as a dirty politician. I was literally dirty because I put on an old suit and I rolled around in the mud, so I was dirty. So I don't know what I'm going to dress up as this year, but that's always well attended. About 300-400 kids and parents show up to that. A lot of good times, and a lot of kids get to meet some of the new community members that's moved in, and actually it's quite a event for a lot of the seniors. They like to sit on the sidewalks and sides of the roads and catch up with family and friends, so it's quite a community event. Is there any other events that any of the councillors here would like to mention that's going on in their communities? Please let me know. You can mention them here. As I said, this report's going to be all over the place. And I'm going to reneged there, but I do promise my next warden's report will have a report in regards to what we did or what happened up the NSFM, especially the discussion that Councillor Baxter had started in regards to our code of conduct and where we're going to go from there. So, Councillor Mooney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A good segue, we also have Nova Scotia Music Week this week, right? So you can see them down at the Grand Hotel, loading up the hotel. It's going to be a really exciting weekend. Like you said, we had 2 cruise ships come in. I had an opportunity that myself, Councillor Cleveland from the town of Yarmouth, and Neil McKenzie, the CAO at YASTA. We had the 2 cruise ships, 185 people on each cruise ship. Actually, they went from France, Montreal, Sydney, Halifax, Yarmouth, Eastport, Maine, New York, dock, dropped the people off. The captain told me he'll be on the ship for a month and a half going to Antarctica. So maybe that's why they said the weather was so nice here. But next year, there's going to be 5. So when I left the boat, there was, I think, 20, 30 people getting back on the boat. And like you said, the tenders that went back and forth, they were going like every 15 minutes. And I saw a lot of local shopping bags in there. So that was really good. The other thing, I attended this week, and one of the all-time greats and probably one of Lauren's old hockey buddies, I went to the unveiling of the plaque for Keith Bridger on the Yarmouth Gateway Field. So Keith is a Nova Scotia Hall of Famer, a Yarmouth Hall of Famer many times over for many different sports. That was a great afternoon. I went to the small business this afternoon, put on by the CBDC at Third Cup Cafe before I came here. Went last night to the French equivalent in Tuscany, and I also went to the gala for the Dark Skies in the Wedgeport Legion. So it's been a busy week, and I know Councillor Muse has been doing the same thing, but just keep her going.
Yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention, I was thinking about in my report, Nova Scotia Music Week, over 75 different bands are going to be performing over 6 stages over the 3 days, so that's something. I do believe there's still a few tickets out there, and if anyone wants to go and buy tickets for this event, just go nsmw.ca, and that's where you get your tickets for all the events. I don't know if they're selling any tickets at the doors this year. Some shows. So anyway, to get all the information in the acts and people all across Nova Scotia, that's one event that we are looking forward to. Is it also falls on the shoulder season of our tourism season. So whether it's cruise ships coming in or Nova Scotia Music Week or different events, we're certainly working hard through our different organizations to make that happen. Councillor Muse?
Sunday night, I had the privilege of going to the Deep Sky Eye Observatory in Quinnen. They unrevealed their new telescope, which 20,000 whatever to look up at stars. It was really interesting. It was a cool night, but it was clear. That was a lot of fun. I also had the privilege a couple of Fridays ago with Mark Brophy to do a visit on the new expansion with Ginny Smith, Bill and Lisa Cox, and Carrie Muse. Took us in. It's really come along since even when you were there, Mr. Warden. And the plan is in my November's meeting at the Mariner Center, we're going to take the board on expansion, on a tour, so they can see what's going on. So business awards tomorrow night. I don't know if everybody knows, but the MC will be Councillor Mooney and his brother. So
I'll be the brunt of my brother's jokes.
Looking forward to that gong show. But we will definitely all get some laughs. And one last thing is Councillor Mooney and his brother came out to my house, ventured down that long road to come check out 10 little puppies that were born 2 weeks ago. So been busy around my household as well. Thank you.
The highlights were still the chocolate chip cookies.
I don't know, are we allowed to heckle from the audience?
Oh, yeah, you'll be getting it, John, don't worry.
No, it'll be.
Don't show up, John, there's half the material's gone.
Well, I love being the brunt of jokes. Just remember, I can take it, but I can also give a little bit. Because I don't know anybody there who you wouldn't be related to tell you the truth. So this is just the start. Deputy Warden.
So I also, I was out at the Dark Sky Observatory, but I was out there Thursday night because I didn't get the notice of the cancellation. So, but no, it wasn't raining. It was fine. But Mr. Doucette, so obviously something was a bit awry. So anyway, I pulled in to, it was actually ended up being his brother's property. Steve. So Steve, yeah. So I knocked on the door and he was very nice, and he called Tim, and Tim was on his way up. So he spent about an hour with Leslie and I, my wife, and showed us the whole property, and it's quite interesting. The one thing that was of most interest, it was all interesting. We saw the telescopes and how everything works, and they do have rentals out there, so you can go sort of glamping, and you can peer at the stars. There's 3 or 4 campsites there, and there's the ability to kayak and a whole bunch of other things. There's a cottage there, which is I didn't know about, but so you can do a day trip out there, and he has a telescope that you can view the sun through, which I did not know. So school trips can happen during the day. So I only thought it was a night thing, but he has an elaborate scope, and you can see the sun during the day. So there you go. That's one thing I didn't know. So it was really good, and he was very, very good. The one issue is, again, we're dark sky area. And for folks that have been on council long enough, that's a very, very difficult designation. And it's not just about that one area, it's about the whole county. And that's a very difficult designation to arrive at. And so there were a whole bunch of scientists and enthusiasts over from a number of years ago from Tenerife in Spain. That's where it's centered. And they spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars looking at light levels in the county in order to get our designation. So they did that kind of for us because of their interest. So it was really shocking how involved it was. I was shocked. You know, it's not that simple a thing. But I did speak with Mr. Doucette, and we've gone from, I think it's a 12-point scale on the dark skies favorability, 12 being the least favorable, 1 being the most favorable, or the darkest skies, and I think we've gone from a 2 to a 3. So that's problematic, I think. I don't understand all the ins and outs of it, but we do need to look at reducing the light pollution. And you can see, so lots of places around the world you can't see the stars at all. And you'll notice that as you get closer to town, and when you look at it, it's blotted out. You can't see much. So we may look at our street lights a little bit, maybe making some improvements there. And if folks, there are certain wavelengths of light that are less damaging, and so you can buy lights and shielding and all that type of thing. But certainly some of that's online, and I think we may put out some of that information for the public. And again, it's everybody's choice within you know, to make those choices about lighting and how much lighting. But it's especially sort of those all-night lights and stuff are particularly damaging. So it is an economic development piece. There are a number of businesses that rely on that. There's 5 or 6 that really focus on that segment of the market, and lots of them are European, and they come here and they really like peering at the skies. So it's something to keep in mind if you can reduce your sort of footprint on light emitting from your, and especially different frequencies of light. I'm not an expert in it, but the information is available online. So, okay, thank you so much.
Your light's been on so long, Trevor, trying to damage the sky right now.
Okay, that's quite an interesting warden's report, but
Anytime you need help, me and Trevor are more than happy to help.
yeah, I think maybe I'm going to switch back to my old ways and write them as a written report, and maybe read it off from there and not open up the floor. But that's quite all right. I believe that if you have something that you've attended, you should know that you're out and about. If there's anything that anyone has out there, please let us know, and we'll certainly try to, if I can't go, I'm sure one of us are able to either walk, run, ride, or hobble with a walker out there. So just another dig, so I'm sure I'm going to get that tomorrow too. All right, that's it for the warden's report. Item 11.3, dangerous and sightly public report disclosure. It's an FYI. 11.4, legal entities. Is there any verbal reports for that? There's some in there that are written reports. Any verbal reports? Councilor Muse?
The Mayor Center Management Authority, we actually met last night, and basically just giving an update on, we're all aware that we're looking for a CEO, and it's been a lengthy process, but I think we finished up, we did 2 interviews this week, we finished up one just before this meeting, and hopefully in the real near future, we'll be making an offer to somebody. So fingers crossed, been a long journey, but I think we're almost at the end of the road. So looking forward to that in the upcoming days. Thank you.
And on behalf of the municipality, District of Yarmouth, Councilor Muse, thank you, number one, for taking over the chairperson of the Mariner Center. And number two, I know this has been very stressful on you. You didn't expect this coming in. I'd like to thank you for your extra support and work that you've done out there, making sure that the transition from a former CEO to a new one is going to be smooth. And I know it's been quite stressful on you, but on behalf of the municipality, thank you. And those efforts haven't gone unnoticed. Councillor Trevor Perry.
Yep. Doctor Recruitment and Retention Committee, there's meetings going to happen to look at a merger of the Recruitment and Retention Committee with the Community Navigator Oversight Committee as well. There's lots of duplications, not just with the members that are on both committees, but also lots of the presentations and objectives and discussions that are having are sort of being duplicated, so we're looking at merging the two.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Right, the Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission had a meeting Monday night, and again, the big pieces there are the port and a transition to sort of a private sector type governance structure. That's ongoing, and again, we've transitioned management of our medical facilities that we still own. We still own the bricks and mortar, but the day-to-day management of those are separate and apart from the Industrial Commission, which is really a better position to be in. So lots of positive activity at the Industrial Commission, and that entity is a really good vehicle. It's all three. There's an intermunicipal agreement that exists to allow that entity to be in existence among the 3 municipal units in the area, and it's a really good vehicle for economic development because we can't hold assets, obviously. So, and we do hold a lot of assets there, and there's some, I think, mileage to be had in the area of economic development through the Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, yet to be had. So those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more under legal entities? Next one, advisory. Verbal reports, Deputy Warden.
I guess I'll say from the Planning Advisory Committee, most often, I won't speak too much about it, most often we have suggested motions coming from or recommendations coming from the Planning Advisory Committee. We had one tonight around wind turbines, so we do the due diligence. Council asks us to look into an issue, or we look into an issue ourselves, and then we're advisory in nature, so we don't approve it, but we certainly make recommendations to council, and most often those recommendations are accepted. So you'll see those coming regularly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more under advisory? Ad hoc? Councillor Baxter?
I'm not part of the Fence Arbitration Committee, but I'm seeing a lot of complaints about loose cows, and I'm getting phone calls now about loose cows. What should I be doing about that?
They should be contacting the office and filing a complaint. We can't do anything about something we don't know anything about.
And the complaint goes to Darren?
To me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next thing up, public comments. Betty Cox is signed up, and what I'm going to ask you to do, Betty, I think you've done this before.
Yeah, as you probably...
Could you turn on your microphone? Thank you very much, Betty.
As you're probably aware, a Democratic issue has arisen with this entire thing about being allowed to make complaints. And what was really, truly offensive was hearing somebody on the radio say, oh, well, when there's a complaint, they put it on a line and they send the complaint to 25 of their other people, their friends, and then all those people complain to me. And I'm thinking to myself, if somebody asked me to complain about a counselor on Facebook and there was nothing wrong, I know what I would have to say to that person. So if you're getting complaints from 25 people because of something like that, something is seriously wrong. So we do need to be very, very, very observant and very cautious of our democratic process, especially in light of some of the things that are happening in all levels of government right now, which are trying to keep people not holding our government accountable. I was really impressed tonight with the whole attitude towards this new legislation, because we do need to be careful. We have to live with each other. And granted, I'm a big spokesperson for talking things like this, but the reality is democracy and freedom of speech and our right to hold our elected officials accountable is probably one of the greatest things that Canada has to offer anyone. And if we allow that to be eroded, even in the smallest measure, we are not just eroding our municipality, we are eroding our nation in a way that moves us very much towards some of these third world countries. And we have to be careful of that. If we're not on guard, and particularly through people like yourselves who have put yourselves in the front firing line, we are going to be in a mess. Now, on the other hand, I'm going to make a comment, a real quick one, about the presentation. First of all, it was very well done. But 3 bedrooms, we're not going to cut back on less bedrooms because most of our kids have moved away. About 1,000 of people like me need to have multiple bedrooms. So this idea that you want to be making all these little 1- and 2-bedroom places doesn't work. Not for us retirees, because we have craft rooms, we have offices, and we have visitors. No.
Thank you very much, Betty. All right, before we go back into camera, we have one more item under contract negotiations. I'd like entertain a motion to take a 5-minute recess. Moved by Councillor Muse, seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.